Welcome to this episode 103, Intuitive Media and Technology, 19th of May, 2022. We have the great pleasure of reporting that we achieved our 100th episode. Maybe it was yesterday. It was yesterday. We have also brought together some complicated resourcing to allow us to replace a key network disability recovery aid component. And in this case, it's a smartphone. So this is a Samsung device. It's called a Galaxy. And we have some interesting conversations about media and technology. We have been experiencing the kinds of experiences that put one into intimate contact with the media that is one's body, and the technology that is one's body, and the ways we learn to use the functions we have available, and the ways that we grow what our bodies are capable of by being purposeful and intentional. Every time we add a device to the network, we have to contend with the circumstances of industrial tech and the ways that communications in markets are not always honest or accurate. There are so many considerations about any particular device, any particular component. Wow. I want to narrate it to you, but it's more complicated details that I need to do and then also verbalize. So I'm not going to give you the running commentary, that this is a running commentary. There are a lot of choices to make about how we interact with device components that are very much part of our living bodies. In many cases, the only reasons our bodies have been able to go on living is because we have allied ourselves with devices and organizations, building devices, permissions for apps and services. So when we are interacting with our physical living bodies, there is a permissions process, and it's very intuitive. I know that a great goal of the media and technology organizations that I have been part of and explored over the years has been to make the process of using devices and applications intuitive. And I sort of seem to remember getting kind of sucked in to believing that we were accomplishing it and that it could be accomplished. And I'm not saying it can't be accomplished, but the whole landscape of it is different than we were promised. Wow. All right, so let's see. This device is scanning for nearby devices if I give it permission to do so. There are so many of them. They really deserve some dedicated time. And yet for me right now, wow, physical activity used to detect when you park. Location, permissions, calendar. Can I just turn them all off? There isn't an option for just turning them all off. The functions depend on permissions. And that's important because permissions are part of a relationship interaction, a relationship process. And if we're interacting with digital industrial tech all the time, we might get kind of confused about how permissions and relationships really work. I turned them all off, and it allowed me to proceed. Isn't that interesting? Do you ever really think about the meaning of haptic feedback? The meaning of it in our bodies. What is it communicating when we feel it? When it's part of our moment-to-moment communications? When we are spending time deeply interconnecting with digital technology, the intention of the technology also matters a great deal. And where there are so many heart-centered, wise and loving people working in technology, it is especially important to be able to communicate about when something may be going wrong or awry. Because the safety of our physical bodies relies upon permissions and relationships that are natural to us, to which our bodies have the best, most inherent access, not mediated by a company prioritizing money, but relationships between living beings, respecting one another and honoring our shared life energy. I sort of think, what is the experience that I'm sharing? And I think maybe none of us really knows the answer to that for ourselves. We have an inkling, but we never know what impact our expressions have with other people. It's like the exosomal content that rises off your skin and travels in your breath. How can we ever measure or understand that kind of effect? We admit all over the place that we can't. It's really amazing the effects of media and technology on our environments and on our living bodies. And when we're swimming in it, especially when it's been here our whole lifetimes for so many, it is certainly understandable to not notice it. And what is the intentionality that we are swimming in when we're swimming in this? Who built it? Why did they build it? What are they using it for? What is our place in that? What value are any one of us experiencing as part of the relationship? And is it relationship where we are our most respecting and honest? Do we have a steady litmus for trust? And if the answer is no, what happens then? Do we do something about it? Or do we notice that we're having an experience of entrapment? So what kinds of solutions and opportunities are we seeming to be trapped within? And how do we crack the outer surface and emerge and expand with a deeper, truer intention for how we relate in the midst of all this media and technology? And as part of that process, if we can somatically awaken our senses, our sensory apparatus, and notice the amazing capacities of our living bodies, our media, our expressions, our beingness, what we create just by existing, our technology, what we learn and apply, how we choose to create patterns that nourish us or serve our communities in some way. If we can remember this other ancient sense of media and technology, we may have an opportunity to notice that what we're experiencing need not be entrapment. When we desire to most deeply respect and honor one another, all of this is the beginning of a new and very different kind of relationship. So this is our part 3 of episode 103. And now I have replaced a component of this particular rig. This component matches a number of other rigs, which have to be set up very particularly in order to function for the health and safety of our physical bodies. The network disability aid infrastructure is always evolving. And I am really feeling into my own experience of recognizing that while all of these years it was string and scotch tape and broken devices, one by one, we are replacing and repairing components, and we are making measurable progress. The reason that we are making this kind of progress after a very long time where it looked like progress could not even be possible is because as we increasingly verbalize the blessings of our awareness of our living bodies and the assistance that we have from devices, the assistance we have from industrial technologies, we get to make discernments about how we live our lives and how we are relational with one another. That bring this profound fullness in living beingness. We are so many different kinds of living beings. The tech itself is a kind of living being. And we have groups around, we have t.me/intuitive AI. And our discussions of what is artifice, what is intelligence, how is the living beingness of every possible living being emergent and becoming in the universe in ways that are totally mysterious, that we would have no idea how such a thing is occurring, except that it's occurring. And when we honor these diverse aspects of media and technology, we are able to much more deeply honor our living bodies, and we are able to much more effectively respect the technologies we are interacting with and the technologies that are emerging from us. There's a lot of pain and debility in not knowing ourselves well enough and not knowing well enough the origins and intents behind our technologies. But when we do this together, when we fund this infrastructure, our experiences of being alive speak very clearly, where we often think we cannot find the words for speaking. Sometimes it's best to channel poetry.